I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. When we first got together, I thought she was the one. She was smart, funny, and she seemed genuinely into me. We had our ups and downs like every couple, but overall, I believed we were solid. That was until about 6 months ago when I started noticing small things that didn't add up: late nights, secretive texts, and a weird attitude that she'd brush off whenever I asked about it. At first, I just figured she was stressed or tired from work. Lisa's a high-powered woman. She's ambitious, always on the grind. But then I started catching her in little lies. She'd say she was going out with friends, but I'd see her texting late at night, her phone hidden under her pillow. Sometimes she'd get defensive when I asked who she was talking to, saying it was just her sister or a coworker. But I knew better. The gut feeling kept nagging at me, and I kept telling myself I was overreacting. Things really started to spiral about 2 months ago. I'd come home and find her phone lying face down on the table, her screen lit up with messages from some guy I didn't recognize. She'd quickly snatch it away if I walked into the room, and her face would freeze for a split second, like she was caught in the act but trying to hide it. I told myself I was imagining things, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. The worst part was, I didn't want to confront her because I was scared of what I'd find or what it would mean for us. One night I stayed up late working on some stuff for my job. I was tired but couldn't sleep, so I decided to check her phone. I figured maybe I'd find some closure, some confirmation of what I already suspected. I unlocked her phone with my fingerprint. She always left it unlocked because she was lazy like that, and what I saw made my stomach drop. There were dozens of messages between her and someone named Chris, who I later found out was her brother's best friend. They were talking about sex, plans to meet up, and even some pretty explicit stuff. I saw pictures, nothing too graphic, but enough to know they'd crossed a line. It hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt numb, then furious. How could she do this to me, to us? My mind raced. I thought maybe I'd confront her right then and there, but I needed to think. I didn't want to blow up everything without knowing the full story. I spent the next hour just staring at her phone, my heart pounding. The betrayal was so raw I could almost taste it. My mind kept flashing back to all the good times, all the moments I thought we shared. It was like I'd been living a lie. The worst part, the timing. Yesterday was our anniversary. We had plans to celebrate, go out, have fun like always. Instead, I was sitting there with her secret life exposed, feeling like my whole world was collapsing around me. I saw her earlier that day, acting normal, and I remember thinking how happy I was, how lucky I felt to have her. And now, I don't even recognize her. Everything's changed. I can't shake the feeling of betrayal, and honestly, I don't know what to do next. Do I confront? Or do I pack my stuff and leave? Or do I try to fix this? The trust is gone, but part of me still wants to believe she'd never do something like this, even as I keep seeing her lies and her secret texts. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My head was pounding and my stomach was tied up in knots. I couldn't stop thinking about everything I saw last night, the messages, the photos, her lies. I kept replaying that moment when I saw her texting Chris. It was like a punch to the chest every time. I honestly didn't know whether to feel more angry or more devastated. Maybe both. I didn't want to jump to conclusions without hearing her side, so I decided I had to confront her. But I also knew I couldn't do it in the heat of the moment. I needed to be calm, collected, and prepared for whatever she might throw at me. I took a deep breath, tried to steady myself, and got dressed. I'd planned to go for a walk, but instead, I just headed straight to her. When I found her in the kitchen, she was making coffee, humming some tune as if everything was normal. I stood in the doorway watching her for a long second before I finally spoke. "Lisa, I need to talk to you." My voice was hoarse and I could feel my hands trembling. She looked up, saw my face, and immediately got defensive. "What's wrong?" she asked, with that fake innocent act she's perfected over the years. I took out her phone and put it on the table between us. "Me about Chris," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her face instantly shifted, her eyes widened, her cheeks flushed. She blurted out, "What are you talking about? I don't know any Chris." I pointed at her phone. Don't lie to me, Lisa. I saw the messages, the pictures, all of it. How long has this been going on? Her mouth opened, but she hesitated. Then she started with the typical bullshit. It's not what you think, it's just sex, just some stupid mistake. We didn't mean anything. It was a one-time thing. I stared at her in disbelief. A one-time thing, how can you say that? Theirs. Hundreds of messages, and I saw the way you looked at him. You've been lying to me forever. Her eyes narrowed and she crossed her arms. Look, Mark, I'm sorry. I was stressed and it just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Chris is just a friend and I was drunk that night. It's nothing serious. That's when I saw how bitchy she was becoming. She was trying to minimize everything, make it sound like I was overreacting. But I wasn't buying it. I knew she was lying just like she always did. The woman was good at twisting things, at pretending she was the victim. She kept insisting it was a mistake, that she loved me, that she'd never do anything to hurt me. But I could see the truth in her eyes, the guilt, the shame, the damn arrogance that she thought she could just lie her way out of it. Honestly, I felt a wave of anger surge through me. Not just at her, but at myself. How did I miss all this? How did I not see what she was hiding? I'd always trusted her, believed in our marriage, and now it felt like I'd been played for a fool. I wanted to scream, to break something, but instead I just sat there trying to process what was happening. The emotional whiplash was terrible. One minute I was thinking about how much I loved her, how I wanted to fix things, and the next I was furious and betrayed. It was like my whole world was crumbling. I kept asking myself, how could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like this? And worst of all, how do I move forward from this? I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, but I also didn't want to jump into a decision I'd regret. The pain was real and I felt so lost. That confrontation didn't go the way I expected, but I guess nothing ever does after discovering something like this. Lisa kept insisting it was a mistake, that it meant nothing, that she was sorry. She was crying, her makeup smudged, trying to look innocent like she was some victim of circumstances. I could see right through it. The girl had always been manipulative, and this just proved it. She spun her lies fast, trying to paint herself as misunderstood, as if I was overreacting. I felt like I was losing my mind. The betrayal was so raw, so unexpected, that I couldn't focus on anything else. My heart was pounding. I wanted to lash out. I wanted to scream at her, but I also just wanted to understand how she could do this to me. How she could lie so effortlessly about something so damn serious. I looked at her, and for a moment I saw the woman I married, feisty, bitchy, a little arrogant. But I also saw someone else entirely. Someone capable of lying through her teeth, of sneaking around, of cheating at our anniversary dinner, no less. She kept saying she loved me, that she didn't want to hurt me, that it was just a stupid mistake she'd regret forever. She looked me in the eyes and said, "I swear, Mark, I never wanted you to find out this way. I was just stressed. Chris, he's just a friend. We didn't mean to fall into something stupid. It was just sex, that's all." She kept repeating that over and over, as if that would make everything okay. The thing is, I didn't believe her. Not for a second. How could she call it just sex? How could she do that with someone so close to my family? Her brother's best friend, no less. That's what sent me into a complete tailspin. I felt betrayed, not just by her, but by everyone and everything I thought I knew. I kept thinking about the dinner we had last night, how she looked so perfect, so happy, how she was acting like she was the perfect wife. And then I find out she's been sleeping with someone behind my back, planning to keep it secret until I stumbled onto the proof. The emotional toll was exhausting. I was furious but also heartbroken. I couldn't believe I was sitting here, trying to piece together what I thought was a life with someone I loved. The worst part was, I could see how she was trying to manipulate me, trying to make me doubt myself, to make me question whether I was overreacting. But I knew better. I knew what I saw, what I read, what I felt in my gut. And that gut told me this was the biggest betrayal I'd ever faced. I told her I needed some time to think, but honestly I had no clue what I was going to do. Part of me wanted to scream, to shout at her until she broke down and admitted everything. The other part was just numb, trying to understand how I'd been so blind. I'd trusted her for so long, and now it felt like I'd been living a lie. My mind kept racing, replaying the moments, trying to find some hope, some way back from all of this. but deep down, I knew nothing would ever be the same. The trust was shattered and I didn't know if I could ever forgive her. After she finished her tired, rehearsed explanations, I just sat there. My mind was a mess, angry, hurt, confused all at once. I couldn't process how someone I loved, someone I thought cared about me, could do something so cruel and selfish. The betrayal cut deep, but it wasn't just the sex. It was the lies, the deception, the way she'd been playing me for a fool. I kept staring at her, trying to find some sign that she was truly remorseful, but all I saw was a bitchy smirk hiding behind her crocodile tears. She thought she could lie her way out of this like she always did. I told her I needed to leave for a bit, get some air, clear my head. She begged me not to go, said she'd do anything to fix this, but I couldn't look at her anymore without feeling sick. I grabbed my keys, almost feeling like a robot, and left the house. Walking out the door felt like leaving a part of myself behind, my trust, my dignity, my sense of security. I drove around aimlessly for a while, trying to figure out what to do next. Everywhere I looked, I saw her face, her sneaky texts, her manipulative smile. I kept thinking about her selfishness, her arrogance. How dare she cheat on me and then lie about it? How could she be so callous, so ruthless? I started to realize that this wasn't just a moment of weakness. It was who she was. A woman who'd always been bitchy, always putting herself first, even at my expense. Her lies, her excuses, they didn't surprise me anymore. I already knew she was a master manipulator, but what hurt even more was the threat she threw in. After I confronted her, she started crying harder, begging me not to ruin everything. She said if I told anyone, her brother's friend Chris would go nuclear and tell everyone about our mess. That scared me, this idea that someone out there had that much power over my life. I could feel her desperation, her fear of losing everything she'd built, and honestly, I felt a sick sense of satisfaction knowing she was worried. I realized she'd been playing the victim all along, trying to make me feel guilty so I wouldn't say a word. She kept saying, "Just forget about this, Mark. It was a mistake, and I swear it'll never happen again. Please don't tell anyone. We can fix this just like we always do." But I knew better. I'd been fooling myself to believe we had something real, but this was the end of the line. I sat in my car, staring at her house from a distance, wondering what kind of woman I'd been married to. She's always been bitchy, yes, but she's also ruthless, selfish, and manipulative. The thought that she'd cheat on me, especially with someone close to my family, was a punch to the stomach. I felt so angry I could explode, but I also felt crushed. How do you pick up the pieces when the foundation of everything you believed in is shattered? It was like I'd been living in a dream, and now I was wide awake, drowning in a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I finally decided I needed to take control of the situation, even if I didn't know what that looked like yet. I'd always been the kind of guy who didn't want to cause drama, but this was different. I had to figure out if I could forgive her or if I was better off walking away. The trust was gone, and honestly, I didn't see how I'd ever look at her the same way again. The whole thing was a mess, and I knew I'd be dealing with the fallout for a long time. Over the next few days, everything felt like a blur. I stayed mostly to myself, avoiding her, trying to make sense of what I'd uncovered. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to get her to admit everything straight up, but I also knew I needed space. I couldn't even look at her without feeling a deep sense of disgust. She kept calling and texting, crying and begging me to forgive her, claiming she was nothing but a stupid, drunken mistake. Honestly, I wasn't sure I believed her anymore. Her tears felt fake, her words hollow, like she was more concerned about saving her reputation than actually making amends. I kept replaying everything in my mind. Her secret texts, her lies, the way she'd looked at Chris during that dinner. That night, I saw how she was bitchy and manipulative, trying to keep me in the dark, trying to cover her tracks. It made me realize she'd been playing me from the start. That same bitchy attitude she'd always carried, that arrogance, was now just the mask she wore to hide her guilt. I started recognizing traits I ignored or excused before. Her manipulativeness, her selfishness, her complete lack of respect for what we had. I also started to think about what Chris might be doing now. There's a part of me that still hopes he keeps quiet, but I know better. That guy isn't trustworthy, and I can't count on him not to spill the beans, especially if he's threatened by me or just wants to stir trouble. I have no idea what he's thinking, but I do know that he's a threat, and I'm worried about what might happen if he decides to go public. That's why I threatened her myself. If she said a word to anyone, I'd make sure it came back to bite her. The last thing I need is her playing the victim and trying to manipulate everyone around us. Meanwhile, I started making plans. I knew I couldn't stay in this house with her after everything I'd seen. I didn't want to be around her fake bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations. I figured I'd stay with a buddy for a while, try to get my head clear. I also decided I'd get legal advice, just in case she tried to turn things around on me, or if she tried to pin the blame on me for some reason. Honestly, I felt like I was walking through a minefield. I didn't trust her anymore, and I knew she'd do anything to save herself, even if that meant lying or throwing me under the bus. It's crazy how someone you once loved can turn into such a stranger so fast. I used to think we had a good relationship, that we could work through anything. But her bitchy attitude, her lies, her cheating, it all added up to one thing: she didn't care about me. She cared about herself and her reputation. That realization hurts worse than anything else. I felt stupid for trusting her, for believing in us, when all along she'd been planning her escape with her brother's best friend. Now I'm at a crossroads. I don't know if I can ever forgive her, or if I even want to. Right now, I just want to get as far away from her as possible, rebuild myself, and figure out what's next. Maybe I'll try to work things out someday, or maybe I'll walk away completely. Either way, I've learned a hard lesson about trust, about the masks people wear, and about how much damage one person's selfishness can do. It's a mess, but I know one thing: I'll never be the same after this. In the end, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not after everything I'd uncovered. I told her I was leaving, that I needed time to think about what I wanted. She pleaded, cried, begged me not to walk away, but I couldn't listen anymore. The woman I once loved was gone, replaced by someone selfish, manipulative, and untrustworthy. I packed my things and moved out, leaving her behind, and honestly, it felt like shedding a second skin. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I felt a whirlwind of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal, each battling for dominance. I kept replaying that dinner, her lies, her bitchy attitude, and the way she dismissed my concerns as if I was just overreacting. I saw her as the manipulative woman she'd become, and I realized that I had been blind for a long time. Trust, once broken, isn't easy to rebuild, and I knew I'd have to work hard just to get past this. Looking back, I learned a lot about myself in this nightmare. I learned that I shouldn't ignore my instincts, that no matter how much you want to believe in someone, sometimes they're just not who you thought they were. I also learned that some people are just selfish, manipulative, and willing to throw everything away for their own pleasure or ego. Lisa's bitchy, lying attitude, her excuses, her threats, they all showed me her true character. And honestly, I didn't want that kind of person in my life anymore. What hurts most isn't just the betrayal, but the fact that I trusted her so blindly for so long. I believed we had something real, something worth fighting for. But she proved me wrong. She proved that her love was just a mask, that her actions spoke louder than any words she could throw around. The pain of realizing she'd been sleeping with her brother's best friend at our anniversary dinner, all behind my back, is something I'll carry with me forever. Now I'm starting over. I'm rebuilding my life from the ground up, learning to trust again, but not blindly. I've become more cautious, more aware of the red flags I ignored before. I've also learned that sometimes walking away is the only way to save yourself. I hope whoever reads this never has to go through something so painful, but if you do, I want you to know you're not alone. Trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to walk away if the person you love turns out to be someone you don't recognize anymore. This whole experience has changed me forever, but I also know it's made me stronger. I'll find happiness again, even if it's not with her. And I hope that someday she'll realize what she lost. As for me, I'll keep moving forward, carrying the scars but also the lessons. Sometimes, the hardest lessons are the ones that teach us the most.